Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the 5 vices that are ruining your life and you don't even know it yet. I've had a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram asking about what vices they should remove from their life. Now, every single vice needs to be eliminated eventually, but these are the 5 vices that are the most common and the most detrimental to your life. So let's get right into it. Alright, the first vice that you need to cut out, and you're not gonna like this one, yes, it's fapping slash pornography. Now, back in the day, men used to hunt, men used to go out and fight other clans, or to get the women to reproduce with and continue their bloodline. Now, in modern day, it's a little different. We still compete, but in different ways. We raise our status, right? We go for higher pay, we increase our income, increase our looks, right? We do all of these different things just to be able to reproduce, because at the end of the day, our biological purpose as a man, our hardwiring in our brain, is to spread our seed, is to increase our bloodline. The problem with fapping and pornography is that when you do it, you are tricking your brain into thinking that the mission is accomplished. The number one mission you have is to spread your seed. But your brain doesn't know if you're doing it with a woman and you're actually making children, or you're doing it to pixels or with your own hand. As soon as you get that nut off, it's gonna kill all of your drive to self-improve. Because at the end of the day, when you really take a step back and you look at everything you do, everything that you do is tied to reproducing in some sort of way. It's tied to women in some sort of way. You ask for that raise at work so you could be higher status, so you could get more pay, so you could get that woman higher chance of reproducing. You work on your fitness so you could be more dominant, right? Be stronger, more capable, so you could protect and provide for a woman and reproduce. Everything that we do falls down to reproducing. So when you trick your brain into thinking that the job is done, it releases something called prolactin. It's responsible for that feeling you get after you bust a nut, where you feel tired, you feel lethargic, and you don't really want to do much. That's because of prolactin is released after you bust a nut. Prolactin is the opposite of dopamine. Dopamine makes you want to go out and do things and actually feel a reward from doing hard work. Prolactin does the opposite. It makes you want to sit back, chill, and not do anything. The problem with fapping and pornography is that it's so available, right? It's unlike any other drug, unlike any other vice, because nowadays it's being pushed as normal, right? Society made it seem normal. It's in all the movies you watch. It's on TikTok, it's on Instagram, it's even on YouTube. They're constantly pushing this sexual agenda, and it's triggering so many men, right? Young men, middle-aged men, even old men are falling into this vice. Now, this is why it's actually going to ruin your life, right? It makes you view women as objects, and it desensitizes you to real pleasure. So if you've been fapping or you've been watching porn for a while, right? If you ever get the chance to actually be with a real woman, you're gonna be awkward around her, right? You're not gonna have sexual confidence, and it's gonna desensitize you. When you watch porn, when you watch all of these highly stimulating sexual things, what it does is it makes you think that all that stuff is normal. But in reality, it's all like a movie. They try to make it as entertaining, as dopaminergic as possible, so that you get addicted and you keep watching. That's the whole purpose of the industry. It's $1 billion, if not $1 trillion industry, and it profits off of your addiction. And this reminds me of this one time in my life where it really got to me. So I was about 15 at the time, and I was seeing this girl at the time. We were seeing each other for about 6 months. We broke up and got back together again. Now, when we got back together, up until that point, we never had sex, right? And then we finally had the chance, right? We finally had the chance to have sex. We were in the garage of one of my friends, right? I asked him if I could use his garage to have sex with this girl. And she was on the bed, butt naked, right? She was looking good. At the time, I was indulging in fapping. I was indulging in porn. Right? This wasn't the first girl I've been with, but this was a girl who I've been wanting to sleep with for a while now. So I finally had the chance. She's right in front of me. My Johnson could not get up, and I can't believe I'm sharing this on the internet, but here it is, right? Being fully transparent with you guys, right? I was 15 years old and I couldn't get up. And it was so bad to the point where she would lay on the bed and I went out like a couple of feet away, literally went on my phone. I went on my phone and I started watching some stuff and masturbating to get myself up so that I could sleep with this girl. It got down to the point where I literally had to watch porn in order to be able to get myself up to be with that girl. Now, after that point, I was like, never again, right? Never again am I gonna allow this to happen to me. But it was all because it desensitized me, right? All of the stuff I was watching, right, especially at a young age, I'm finally in the moment, I'm a little nervous, my anxiety is up, right? And it's up even more because of all the fapping. I finally get the chance and I couldn't even make it happen, right? Now, we did end up sleeping with each other, but that's beside the point. Imagine how awkward, how uncomfortable I made this girl because I couldn't even get up, right? And I had to watch porn in front of her just to sleep with her. Like, I feel bad for the girl. You watching this, my fault. But this is a problem that so many guys experience, right? Young and old. I know so many grown men with wives, right, with whole families, and they encounter the same thing because they never took control of this vice from an early age. You get exposed to it pretty young. I was exposed to this stuff at like 11 years old, right? I'm 23 now. And if you're not careful, it will take over your life. I promise you that. There are a bunch of horror stories online. If you ever want some inspiration to quit, just look up some of the horror stories behind this. It's gonna make you socially awkward. When you really think about it, it makes cucking sound normal. Because when you watch porn, you're watching a man and a woman most of the time, right? You're watching a man and a woman have sex, which is cucking, right? That is weird. And it makes it seem normal, right? You're getting off to the fact that someone else is sleeping with the girl that you actually want to be with, right? You want to be with that porn star, right? You want to be with that girl. You're getting off on their pleasure. And that's weird, right? As you grow up, you realize that is very, very weird. Most importantly, it's going to kill your self-respect. The reason why you feel like shit afterwards, every single time you have that feeling after you bust that nut, is because you know you didn't do anything to actually deserve it, right? You know that it was false sense of pleasure. You were tricking your brain into thinking that you were getting some action, and then that post-nut clarity hit in, and you realize that you're still in the same position that you were before. And it's gonna fill you up with guilt, it's gonna fill you up with shame, and guilt and shame are the lowest frequencies that you could possibly have as a man. When you vibrate from guilt, when you vibrate from shame, when you operate out of that level, nothing that you want to accomplish in life actually ends up working out. The earlier you can, with this vice, the earlier you can get control of your sexual discipline, the earlier you can actually become that best version of yourself. Now, the next vice that every man needs to cut out because it's ruining your life is the junk food slash binge eating. When I was smoke back in the day, I would wake up in the middle of the night, go to the kitchen. This is back when I had junk food in the house. I would eat Chips Ahoy cookies. I would drink milk. I would eat all of these like chips and snacks in the middle of the night and then go back to sleep. Or sometimes I would just have sessions where I'm watching Netflix and I would have a whole bunch of junk food. And before you know it, I'm done with 2 tubs of ice cream. I'm done with 3 bags of chips and like 2 cupcakes. The problem with this is that you could stay dialed in from Monday through Saturday. You can eat super clean. But if on Sunday you choose to slack off and you choose to binge eat in particular, you can destroy all of the hard work that you built up from Monday through Saturday in just one day. Really, in just a couple hours. You don't want to destroy all the hard work you work in the gym for. Keep out the junk food, keep out the binge eating. And what it's also going to do is it's going to kill your hormones. This is one of the biggest aspects of this, is that all these processed foods, these seed oils, these artificial ingredients, they kill your hormones. I managed to get a pretty decent physique eating processed foods, but my energy was low, my dopamine levels were shot. I was always searching for instant gratification. I wasn't sharp mentally. I didn't have that clarity. I always had brain fog. And that's because my hormones were out of whack due to all of the processed foods. Obviously, it's going to cause you health problems. You could get high cholesterol, heart issues, diabetes, all of these different obesity, right? All of these different health problems, they will catch up to you sooner or later. I know so many people who got heart attacks, got strokes just because of their poor diet choices. As a man, you should want to be at the best health you could possibly be in for yourself, for your family, so you can stick around and provide and protect and create a legacy of your own. But you won't be able to do that if you're slowly killing yourself by eating junk food. And once again, it's gonna fill you up with shame and loss of self-respect, especially after you binge eat. After you binge eat, your stomach is full, you can't eat no more, your insulin is high, you're gonna realize like, hey, what did I just do? And it all comes down to the fact that you couldn't self-control yourself. That's why you have that shame after you binge eat. Number one way to not eat junk food, to not binge eat, is when you go grocery shopping, just make sure you don't buy dumb shit. If you only buy healthy whole foods, then there is literally like no chance that you're gonna binge eat, because you're not gonna binge eat in public. And the chances that you're gonna go out, step outside your house, go all the way to the store just to get a bag of chips is very low. Number three is smoking, whether that's vaping, smoking cigarettes, or smoking weed. Especially smoking weed, because society has once again normalized it. Weed is legalized in so many states. It's recently been legalized in New York. I used to be a very big pothead. I would wake up, smoke, and do that the entire day, multiple times a day for 5 years straight. Right? This picture is of me smoking. Okay, I've never smoked cigarettes in my life, never will, but I have vaped before and I've smoked weed. Problem with smoking is that it fakes the raising of your frequency. When you smoke, you start to feel really good. Whatever you're doing while smoking, it starts to feel very enjoyable. So you're operating at this, high frequency, right? You gotta pepper your steps, so to say. But then you crash and you want that feeling again, because it just made something so enjoyable for you. And when you smoke and other people see you, particularly people who see you every single day, they can see it in your eyes that you're not truly happy. There's a difference between actually operating at a high frequency and faking high frequency. When you're faking high frequency, people can tell, I promise you. You can't fool other people, especially if they're sober. When I'm sober, like I'm sober now, I've been sober for over 3 years now. When I look at somebody who smoked and they look all happy and everything, I can literally see the pain behind this mask that they put on. I can see it because I've been there. You could literally see it on my face right here. I masked the pain with the smoking, right? So you can't fool anybody, and you're not gonna fool yourself either. People can see that you're not truly aligned. Another reason to quit smoking is that it actually ruins your masculine set. I used to think that smelling like weed was good until I quit, and I realized that it really does smell like trash. As a man, you should be smelling fresh. You should smell like some cologne. You should smell masculine. Smelling like weed automatically puts you at lower value, right? You would never see some big CEO of a company, some millionaire who's not a rapper, show up to a meeting smelling like weed. You'll never see that. Automatically makes you seem lower value. I used to come into class, the entire class would start smelling like weed. Everybody would be staring at me. I used to think it was cool. But the truth is that no wonder people were looking at me a certain way, the people who didn't smoke. It makes you come off as unprofessional and ruins your masculine set. The big reason why I quit smoking was also that it caused paranoia and anxiety. Growing up, I used to be a very confident kid, right? I just had this inner confidence within me. But as I started smoking more and more and more and more, I noticed that I became very socially awkward. I wouldn't be able to speak to strangers. I started having like random panic attacks. I wouldn't be able to like hold conversations with people who weren't smoking. And that's because I was so dependent on the weed to be social. And there's actually a story behind this, behind one of the things that happened to me right before I quit smoking weed. I quit before this for about 3 months, and then I relapsed, right? I relapsed and I smoked right before my final presentation that I had to do for this college class. I had to do a group presentation just like this on a PowerPoint, and I got super high before it. On the presentation, it was a Zoom call. I caught this panic attack. My voice kept breaking up. I was literally shaking. The way I felt in that situation was like a big red flag for me. And it was like, yeah, I need to quit. There's no way I can actually operate at my full masculine potential, if I'm full of all of this excess nervous energy within me because of smoking, it's because you know that you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. And you know that other people can see it in you. They can see that you're doing it. And that's why it gives you those panic attacks. Now, another reason to quit smoking is that you lose your sharpness and it makes you lazy. You become a target and susceptible to danger. What I mean by this is that when I would smoke, it's like I would always be walking in a cloud. I wouldn't be sharp. I wouldn't be quick, right? If something was to go down, I wouldn't be able to defend myself. I wouldn't be able to get out of situations, to take care of my loved ones, to protect my friends. Especially in New York, where you are this type of person who you're just drifting through the wind, you're going to become a victim. And a masculine man needs to always be alert, in my opinion. You need to always know, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what this person is doing, how this person is acting, and be able to control every situation that you're in. Because once you lose control of that situation, then you become a target. And another thing is that it puts you at risk for health problems because most of the product is poorly regulated. When I was in high school, I remember these kids would come into class with wax pens, and it was clearly fake wax. Like, I'm 99.9% sure that they were smoking cooking oils. Now, I didn't smoke that shit, but these kids were doing it, right? At the age of 15, 16, 17 years old, they were smoking cooking oil, right? They were smoking pesticides. Literally, it smelled like pesticides when they would smoke. Who knows where they're at now? Who knows what type of damage that stuff did to their brains, what type of damage that did for them, and who knows how it's going to show up down the line. Because I bet you 90% of these guys who were smoking back then, 90% of them did not quit. Just understand that just because it's legalized doesn't mean that it's well regulated. A lot of these people who work in these companies anyway, they smoke themselves. They can easily, pass a bad batch through, right? So make sure that you're taking care of your health. It's all you really got. And what you got to understand is that it's all an escape. Every single one of these vices that I talk about in this video is an escape. You have certain problems in your life and you are trying to mask them. You are trying to run away from these problems by smoking, by doing all of these things. It takes you away from your problems for the time being, for the 2-3 hours that you're high. But once you come down, you're back in that same position. It's like you got this gunshot wound and you're just putting a band-aid on it. No, you need to get it stitched up. You keep putting a band-aid on it and eventually it's just going to get infected. It's going to become worse and worse and worse. And it's the same with the problems in your life. You keep neglecting the real problems in your life and they're just going to compound. Before you know it, by the time you want to quit, you have this whole stack of problems that you have to deal with now. Masculine men tackle their problems head on. We have a problem. Okay, what's the plan? What can I control? What can't I control? Let me focus on what I can control and do everything in my power to actually take care of this issue. That's how you actually self-improve as a man. Also, I know that people tell you that, oh, it's just smoking weed, it's not harmful. Yes, it is. Smoking is a gateway to other vices. I'm telling you from first-hand experience. It won't be enough. One day you're going to want to try other drugs. One day you're going to want to try other things. It's going to put you in bad situations with bad people because low frequency attracts low frequency. Number 4 of the vices that you need to cut out right now is doom scrolling. Almost everybody does this. I do it sometimes too, not going to lie. But at the end of the day, doom scrolling is just a waste of your life. If you add up all of your screen time hours, you can literally count years of your life on your phone that you're spending watching dumb shit. Some of you guys say that you don't have time to hit the gym. You don't have time to work on your social skills. You don't have time to date women. You don't have time to start a business. You don't have time to do all of these things. And yet, every single one of you that says that you don't have time have screen times higher than mine. So make it make sense. You say you don't have time, but you're spending 5, 6, 7, 8 hours every single day on your phone. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna kill your attention span and your ability to focus. When you're watching these videos, they're like 30-second clips, 10-second clips, you're swiping away, right? What do you think that's doing to your attention span? The reason why you can't sit down and actually learn a new skill, actually put your mind to a task for multiple hours on end, and you keep getting distracted, The reason why you can't even hold eye contact in a conversation with a woman, or you can't even hold a conversation, is because you have a bad attention span. You killed your ability to focus by watching all of these social media videos, right? The TikTok, the Instagram reels. All of it is turning you into a spectator. And what a spectator is just someone who watches what someone else is doing instead of making things happen in your own life instead. So you're watching everybody's life on social media. And I say life because it's just a life, it's just a part of their life that they want to share with you. Most of these people are not really showing all the good and the bad of their life. They're only showing the good parts. You're watching everybody's life, and everyone's life just seems so much more enjoyable than yours. So you feel like shit about yourself. So you just think, hey, let me just keep watching. Let me just keep watching other people's life. And you get this fake dopamine hit that makes you think that you're actually improving your own. Another thing about doom scrolling is that it can actually gateway into porn addiction, because we all know that social media loves to push this sexual agenda. You can go a few scrolls without seeing some girl dancing, like twerking on TikTok, or just showing off their body. If you are already susceptible to that vice, it's going to be very easy for you to slip right back in if you're doom scrolling. So just be aware of how much time you're spending on your phone. What I personally recommend is that don't even go on social media at all if you're not a creator. Everyone should become a creator in some sort of fashion. I'm obviously a content creator, I'm a coach, so I have to spend more time than usual on social media because I have to upload videos, I have to see how my analytics are doing. But even me, I have to cut down sometimes because sometimes I compare my content with other people and I shouldn't be doing that. One way to stop doom scrolling is just to start creating content instead of consuming content. But if you don't want to do that, then completely stay away from social media. Only go on to post your stories, to post pictures every now and then, to still put yourself out there. I'm not saying stay away from it completely. You want to put yourself out there. You want to have a nice Instagram. You want to have a nice feed for networking, for dating opportunities. But make sure you don't fall into the scrolling trap. Now, number 5 is alcohol slash partying. Once again, it is all an escape, right? When you go to the club, everyone is bobbing, right? Bobbing their heads, right? Screaming, shouting the same songs every single time, the same radio hits. They're jumping up and down. What are they celebrating at the end of the day? They're not celebrating much, right? They spend Monday through Friday working a job that they hate, and they think that they did something. They think that they worked hard just because they went to a 9 to 5, and they choose to celebrate on the weekends. And once again, you're tricking your brain into thinking that you're making progress. In reality, you're not doing much, right? The job is not finished. Now, my channel is not for the 99%. My channel is for the 1% who want to be exceptional masculine men in every single aspect of their life and dominate it, right? You will not dominate every single aspect of your life if you waste your time with alcohol, if you waste your time with partying. And you got to understand that the lost attract the lost. Back in like 2022, I would go out clubbing with my friends. They just got new careers and they didn't like their jobs, so they would go out and party on the weekends, and they thought that that's the best way to have a good time, that's the best way to meet new women, when I told them it's not. But since they were my boys, I went out to the club with them. Most of the time when I would go to these places, I wouldn't even drink. I would just get water, or I would just get a Sprite, right? I would make it look like I'm drinking, and I would just chill, try to enjoy the vibe. But the problem with this is that I was sober, surrounded by a bunch of people who were drunk. And so we didn't vibe. I was completely clear-minded and they were lost in the sauce. So I was just like, I felt weird around these people. And I could tell they felt weird around me too. Because at the end of the day, the lost attract the lost. But you will never notice that the people around you are lost if you're lost yourself. You need to take a step back in order to really see the whole room. In order to see like the demonic energy that goes around in some of these clubs. Some of the stuff that goes down in these places is really bad. It's some dark energy in there. Everyone's problems, everyone's stresses, everything that people are trying to escape is like all in one room together. And they're just making that energy greater and greater. And another thing is that it makes you 100 times more likely to make dumb decisions. The friends that I mentioned who used to go out clubbing, right? I had this one friend who we've been friends for a long, long time, right? For a few years, we met in high school. He was a cool guy. We've been through a lot. And he got this job working in corporate. Now, this guy was one of the few people I knew who was able to smoke, drink, still indulge in other vices, while still getting great grades, while still making money, while still going to work. He was one of those people, but he let it get to his head. He started drinking even more, right? It got worse and worse and worse and worse. And we would go out to the clubs, and he would always make dumb decisions. He would put his freedom and our freedom in jeopardy because of dumb decisions that he made. One time he got so drunk, he got on a moped, started driving towards traffic on the highway in a moped, and he ended up crashing. Like, thank God he was fine. He dislocated his shoulder, he got hurt, but thank God he was alive. That's not the only thing he did. He's had a lot of situations like that that could have potentially destroyed his life, and it's all because he fell into this vice. He couldn't control it, right? So it started controlling him, started making him dumb decisions, and essentially ruining his life. One time he got so drunk, he ended up basically disrespecting me along with one of our other friends, and like going off on us over text, over voice notes. He just went on this tantrum while being drunk, and just by him doing that, right? Just by him doing that, that killed his relationships with us, with me. Not only are you going to make dumb decisions, but you're also going to kill the relationships that you have with your loved ones. If you truly care about the people in your life like you say you do, if you're truly a good friend, if you're truly a good brother, if you're truly a good son, then you wouldn't put your relationship with your loved ones in jeopardy over some alcohol. And another big reason why you must stop drinking, you must stop partying, is it destroys momentum. Momentum is one of the biggest advantages that you have. Once you get that ball rolling, everything flows easy. Success flows easy. Money flows easy. That great physique flows easy. Women flow easy. But it all starts with momentum. Monday through Friday, you've been dialed in. You've been eating clean. You've been training in the gym. You've been staying disciplined, right? You've been waking up on time. Saturday comes around. You choose to stay out all night. You drink. You go in a calorie surplus because you drank so much. Okay? Then you wake up super late because you got home at 6 a.m. and you have this hangover, so you skip the gym. It completely kills all of your momentum. Everything that you worked so hard for during that week is gone. Just 1 or 2 days, all because you chose to go out partying. Now, number 6, this is a bonus, and that's seeking validation. When you seek validation, this could be on social media, this could be from in person, right? Trying to do things to please others, always caring about what other people think. It's gonna make you feel like you're not good enough. The only person that you should try to prove things to is yourself. You're only competing with yourself in the past tense, right? Who you were yesterday. The masculine man doesn't care what other people think. You cannot be a killer if you constantly concern yourself with the opinions of others, right? They say the lion does not concern himself with the opinions of sheep, and it's so true. You will never be able to progress if you're constantly thinking about what your friends are thinking, what that girl might think, what your parents might think. Some of you guys make career decisions completely based off what your parents want you to do. And then you wonder why you feel unsatisfied, you feel miserable, and you drink on the weekends. It's because you made a decision based off what other people may think. But you need to do what you believe is best. At the end of the day, you need to go through that trial and error and see what works for you. You constantly seek validation, you're always going to feel empty. It's never going to be enough, right? You're always going to seek more and more and more validation. Eventually, you're going to lose your true identity. As a man, you have a certain identity, you have a certain character, you are your unique man. But if every decision that you make is based off what others want you to do or what others may think, you're too scared to upload that picture because your friends are going to call it weird. You're too scared to stop drinking, stop smoking because you're afraid that you're going to lose your friends. You're too scared to make that content because you're afraid of what your family might think. You're afraid of what that girl might think. You're too scared to approach. You're too scared to do all of these things. And you become a complete shell of a man. You lose your true identity because none of the actions that you took up to this point in life were based on what you really wanted to do. Start living by what you actually want to do, and I promise everything else is just going to flow. You're going to feel that big weight release, and you're going to be able to live your own life, right? So those are the 6 vices that every man needs to cut out of his life. If you don't cut these vices out, I promise you, you're never going to live up to your full potential. So make sure you get that dialed in. And what all of these vices have in common is that they make you lose self-respect, which is one of the biggest indicators of success. So in my next video, I'm going to break down exactly why self-respect is the most important thing when it comes down to reaching your full potential as a man. But I'll see you boys in the next one. Stay tuned. Stay dangerous.